Hello and welcome to the session on unit testing. Unit testing is the process of testing every function in a module in order to determine if it is operating correctly. In general, the way that unit testing works is as follows. On the left-hand box, you see the code that we've written that is implementing a function called readDevicesInfo. On the right-hand side, towards the bottom, is the unit test code that we have created to test our function that we defined called readDevicesInfo. So what this means is that when you create unit tests, you are writing code for every piece of code that you write that's actually part of the application. Why would you do unit testing? There are a number of reasons. Some of the most important ones are in order to detect defects early on in the process of building your code. It is much less expensive to find bugs early rather than to find them later, or worse, in production. Another reason for unit testing is to improve code quality. Sometimes just the process of creating unit tests causes you to understand that there are issues with problems in your code, and you will make your code a little bit better in order to make the unit tests work. Unit tests are also useful for doing regression testing and for automation. This is the process of creating scripts that will test your code after changes have been made. There are a number of components that you need to be aware of in a unit test. The first thing to be aware of is that there is a Python library module that you will import called unit test. Before every test is run, there will be a setup and a teardown process to get the test code ready for running the test. Each individual test is called a test case. Test cases can be grouped together into a test suite for organizational purposes. When you create unit tests, you will actually be creating a class, and you will inherit unittest.testCase as you build your class. The basics of unit testing in terms of code are as follows. Consider the code on the right. You can see we are importing unit test. The next thing that you will see is the definition of our unit test class. We're calling this class testUtil because we are testing our utility module. And you can see in the parentheses that we are inheriting from unittest.testCase. You can see a number of methods. Two of the methods, the one at the beginning and the one at the end, are setup and teardown. These are methods that get run before and after every single test case is run. The two methods in the middle, testCSVRead and testCSVWrite, are actual test cases which will be run one at a time in sequence. At the bottom of the code is the code that will actually launch the unit test. When your unit test runs, you will want to test to make sure that the test succeeded or to flag an error in case it failed. You will do this using what are called assertions. And what you can do is you can compare data that you've received back from the function that you're testing and compare it against what you had expected. And if the two compare favorably, then the test passed. And if they do not compare favorably, then for whatever reason you will log an error and your test case will show that there is a problem with your module or with your function.